I walked up to the funeral home, trailing Dee by a few steps as I fumbled with my suit jacket and cuffs. I asked her to help with the buttons, but she kept walking, trying to compose herself. She fixed a wrinkle in her skirt. We were greeted by 2 employees. I gave them our names, and the shorter one looked us up in the registry. After twisting up her face and giving me a weird look, she eventually found what she needed. She pointed out the bathrooms and led us to the visitation. A glistening closed casket stood alone in the corner of the room, flanked on both sides by a mountain of flowers. The picture frame on top didn't show the deceased, just a set of hydrangeas. Dee loves hydrangeas. It must be tough to enjoy things you like when you're at a funeral. Dee and I were shocked when we heard the diagnosis. Aggressive, rare, fast. Poor woman was gone within weeks. The shock broke her husband. He'd go catatonic for hours and scream every time he remembered she was gone. He would regularly be found walking outside at 3 a.m., enjoying the sunshine. Sometimes he talked into the air. I suppose he needed some coping mechanisms, and detachment from reality was the best he could do. We all react differently. As we paid our respects, I couldn't help looking at the messages on the flower arrangements. I spotted a generic message and whispered to Dee how they could have at least put in a few seconds of effort for final goodbyes. I greeted the sad yet composed family. I wondered whether they had accepted the finality of the situation. I looked around and realized I recognized nearly everyone there. It's remarkable how much friends can overlap, especially in a small community. We exchanged how are yous as we waited. As the visitation drew to a close, everyone shuffled into the chapel for the ceremony. The casket stood prominently, the same hydrangeas adorning the picture frame on top. Dee and I sat at the back and got a few stares from the others, who were spread out through the pews. The front row was empty. People can be so childish sometimes. It was a fairly quick affair, full of prayers for the deceased and forgiveness from a higher power. As the priest went about his business, he motioned for her husband, Paul, to say a few words. Except the poor man's name is Chris. Paul is my name. I looked over to Dee, half chuckling at the mistake. She wasn't there anymore. And the crowd was now looking at me. I looked at the picture of the smiling face above the casket and screamed. Then it was black.